Councillor Joe Kavanagh, Lord Mayor of Cork. You're all very welcome to the City Hall in Cork City and indeed the historic Lord Mayor's Chamber. The very building we're sitting in was burnt down 100 years ago and was rebuilt, rose from the ashes of destruction, despair and violence, and is rebuilt into this magnificent building and reopened in 1936. I would welcome all the relatives and the friends of Joe Murphy. And I know you're all very passionate about the history, recognising and remembering all our patriots. This year, we're in our year of commemoration, and it is very important. And behind me, I have portraits of Terence MacSweeney and Tomás McCurtain, former Lord Mayors. And in the far corner of my chamber, we have a photograph of the third Lord Mayor, commonly known as the forgotten Lord Mayor, the third Lord Mayor of 1920, Donal O'Callaghan. Today we're here to remember Joe Murphy. Joe was born in Massachusetts in 1895 and returned with his family to Cork City and grew up in Toker, a beautiful part in the south side of Cork City. Joe was very passionate about his city and his country. I've read quite a bit about him, and on the 15th of July, 1920, he was arrested. Arrested with a number of other volunteers for the possession of a bomb, but something he was never actually charged for. He commenced a hunger strike, along with his colleagues, and along with other volunteers. Terence MacSweeney and Joe Murphy passed away on the 25th of October 1920. And I am informed that as you're watching this very movie, it will be very close to the time Joe Murphy passed away. So this is quite iconic. Joe Murphy and Terence MacSweeney are buried in the Republican plot in St. Finbar Cemetery. And he's always remembered by his local community in Ballyphehane and in Toker and the south side, and indeed right across Cork City. Every community in Cork has an unsung hero. And we need to ensure that patriots such as Joe Murphy, Terence MacSweeney, Tomás McCurtain will always be remembered and will never be forgotten for making the ultimate sacrifice and making our city and our country what it is today.
To execute prisoners of war is a war crime.
Your father told me how he died in the Cork jail. Makes me get choked up to even say that.
On a cold and grey October day in the year 1920, a funeral hearse approached the gates of St. Finbar Cemetery. 1,000 mourners walked behind upon the gravel rough. His parents cried with anguish as the boy from Pouladuff.
My name is Shirley Kelleher and I'm the grandniece of Joe Murphy. When I look at this is a copy of the photograph of the portrait that is down in the museum in Fitzgerald's Park. And I remember being very young, going on a school tour, and sure, off down to the museum we went. And I remember my father stopping me that morning going to school, and he said, "Remember when you go into the museum, Shirley, there's 2 portraits hanging on the wall. One is of your granduncle, Joe Murphy." And so I remember going in the old entrance of the museum, and to the left-hand side was a portrait of Terence McSweeney, and on the right-hand side was a portrait of our Joe, and standing in front of it as a small child, but all the rest of the class were down looking at Terence McSweeney's portrait. And my teacher came up and she said, "Who's that, Shirley?" And I said, "That's Joe Murphy, he's my granduncle." And it was the first time that they had realised that I was related to him. And so, yeah, it's a huge memory.
My name is Aaron O'Connell and I'm a member of the Ballyphehane Toker Centenary Commemoration Committee. And this year it's Joe Murphy's centenary, and Joe Murphy was a local lad who lived in Pouladuff Road in what is now known as Joe Murphy House. And if you think about it, Joe Murphy was living on the road that actually brings the two parishes of Toker and Ballyphehane together. So we thought it would be fitting that we would come together this year and commemorate and honour Joe Murphy, who died in hunger strike on the 25th of October 1920. Joe Murphy was, of course, born in Lynn in Massachusetts in the USA, and his family's story is one of reverse immigration. His parents originally emigrated to America, and they returned from America when Joe was very young and came to live in Ballyphehane.
He officially went to school up to 4th class. So that was the end of his primary education.
Been, yeah. And this would be the building he went to school in?
Correct, all right.
So I think when we talk about Joe Murphy, not just the local community has the right to be very proud of him and his sacrifice and what he fought for, but so does the diaspora, because Joe has lots of relatives still in the United States. And I'm sure that they will be as proud as we are of one of our sons that we share with the diaspora who fought and died for Irish freedom.
Joe Murphy soon immersed himself in the culture of his land, hurling, football, road belting were all at his command.
But Joe was an ordinary guy. He played hurling with the old Plunkets club. He played Gaelic football. He was into road bowling, so he was a very ordinary guy. And the one thing about the volunteers on the ground is that they were very ordinary people, but they were extraordinary in the sense of the courage they had to take on the might of the British Empire.
Joe joined the Irish Volunteers in 1917. I'm sure that must have been after the 1916 Rising. So he was a very active volunteer. And of recent times, we've just found out he was part of a group of volunteers who helped Donnacha McNeill escape from Cork jail. He was also involved in the Toker RAC ambush and Farran ambush. So he was a very active volunteer. And so on the 15th of July 1920, Joe was arrested. And certainly that was a very traumatic night for his family, because he was arrested by the Black and Tans and the RAC, who arrived at their home at 3 in the morning. They arrested Joe for possession of a bomb, which actually turned out afterwards not to be true at all. And they stole money from the home, wrecked the home, and took Joe from his mother and father and siblings. Joe was then put into Cork jail.
Lord George, the British Prime Minister, said that he would make the Irish people pay so terrible a price for their freedom that they wouldn't want to pay it. And Joe ultimately paid a huge price. And you know, we talk about hunger strikes, and you know, 76 days is a long time to be on a hunger strike, but we forget that every single day that you're on a hunger strike brings enduring pain. You know, it takes a willpower of steel to be able to maintain your focus and to keep on it, because everybody wants to be healed when they're hurting. So it takes something really, really special and a deep-seated, not just moral courage, but physical and mental courage to be able to maintain and sustain a hunger strike, and particularly to take it to the end.
So in the autumn of 1920 then, the British government took the decision that it was neither going to release, it certainly wasn't going to grant political status to anyone who went on hunger strike. And thus began the great hunger strikes in the autumn of 20, both here in Cork Jail, and of course we are a few yards away from the site of the hunger strike itself, and also Terence McSweeney, who was removed to Brixton Prison in England during his hunger strike.
The hunger strikers were met with waves of support, and the people of Cork gathered outside the gates of the jail to say a rosary every evening leading up to the final days of the young men. Joe's parents and siblings stayed at his bedside, helping him to sip water and hold his hand, sadly anticipating the inevitable death of their son and brother.
And so the first to die was Michael Fitzgerald, and a week later, Joe died, just a couple of hours after Terence McSweeney. And certainly that would, with Terence dying the couple of hours beforehand, the Lord Mayor of Cork, it certainly would have overshadowed Joe's death.
We're in, at the moment, the offices of the Ardmhéara in Cork City Hall, and the first Republican Ardmhéara Lord Mayor was Tomás McCurtain, and he was followed by Terence McSweeney. And Tomás McCurtain was not just the Lord Mayor of Cork at the time, he was also the Commandant of the 1st Cork Brigade. So you had leaders who were looking at it strategically across not just the political but the military fight as well, because they knew that you couldn't attain freedom from Britain unless you fought them. And the leadership that was shown, and I think both McSweeney and McCurtain showed it in the sense that they knew that they would be targets as well, because Britain's war in Ireland was about making sure that there wouldn't be a leadership to lead it, and their assassination of McCurtain was very much in that vein.
Not only did the Murphy family lose one son to the cause, but they lost two, because one was banished from his own country. Joe's brother Richard, who was also born in America, had gone to Queenstown and got his American citizenship and had joined the Merchant Navy. So as Joe was on his final journey, his mother and father made contact with him and asked him to return home, which he did the December after Joe's death in 1920. And he entered through in Belfast port, whereby he was arrested immediately by the British forces, thrown into Crumlin jail. The American consulate obviously was called in, and the agreement they came to is that Richard would leave Ireland and go to America, which he did. He settled in New York and started his family there, but he never saw his parents again, and his parents never saw him.
Growing up, my father would talk about Joe Murphy, and his brothers, my uncles, would also speak of him. He was a legend in the family, and his sacrifice for the Republic was a point of pride for my father and his siblings.
Joe's neighbour and friend John Joe Hegarty took charge of his funeral. He carried Joe's body from this jail himself, and at a crucial moment of the funeral, when British forces attempted to take the tricolour from Joe's coffin, John Joe folded the flag into the coffin with Joe's body and closed the lid, so that it could not be taken away. The young men who had lived a life of adventure and importance, those short lives today with an internal symbol of what he sacrificed his life for.
So when I think of other volunteers, I think of Terence McSweeney, and the last words he said to a visiting priest were, "I want you to bear witness that I die as a soldier to the Irish Republic," and I'm sure every volunteer felt that way.
A witness statement from volunteer Frank Hines reads, "Firing party, attention!" Everybody looked up. I marched the men around the grave and we fired the 3-shot volley. And everyone in the crowd clapped. I had a queer feeling listening to the people clapping in a graveyard. After this incident, every young man in the area joined our company.
The coffin, it was lowered down with dignity and care. The firing party's pistol shot 3 volleys in the air. Many young men vowed that day the tyrants to rebuff, in honor and in memory of the boy from Pouladuff. In honor and in memory of the boy from Pouladuff.
Have you ever tried to fall asleep with the stale smell of blood in the air? I didn't think about that when I was getting us a flat over a butcher shop here in Lynn, Massachusetts. I was only thinking about finding us a home. And I did. I found us a home. Well, a home. It's not my home. Oh no. My home is Ireland. And I'm going to get us back there if it kills me. And if it does kill me, they'll bury me in Irish soil. I'm going to bring the children back. My boy Joe and the twins Richard and Mary. We're going back as a family. I promised Joe.
Nora, my love, we're going back to Ireland.
Oh, Timothy! The journey was rough, but on the 13th day, Joe spotted Queenstown. We settled into Cork quickly enough, thank God. We got a flat on the South Terrace, and as soon as he could walk, Joe had a hurley in his hand.
Come on, St. Plunkets! And St. Plunkets scored another goal.
He was a kind boy, Joe. There was this one time there was a match. Plunkets were losing 1 point behind Redmonds. Joe was a striker and a good one. He had the ball. He's racing towards the goal. He's about to score the winning goal when one of the Redmond players tripped and fell over. Well, Joe just helped him up. They lost the match because of it.
You played so well, Joe.
Not well enough.
Well, I'm proud of you.
Great game, boys. I would just like to remind you, as a brother myself, the Irish Republican Brotherhood are calling for volunteers. When you're ready, come and find me. The revolution is coming, men. Make sure you're on the right side of it.
A revolution?
Joe wasn't just good at sports. I raised him in a good Catholic household. And so after every match, he arrived home in time for the Angelus. And the years flew by. 1 minute he was making his first Holy Communion. The next minute he's heading off to dance halls.
Ma'am, Dad, I got it. I got the job.
A horse and cart?
Sure, isn't it great? We can use it in the market garden.
Well done, Joe.
And then little Richard comes out, hops up on the yoke. Oh, sweet Jesus, I had to turn away. I couldn't look. They were spinning around and flaking him down the road. Oh, and then Sir Richard starts slagging Joe.
Hey, I'm the one driving this, you know. You'd want to watch yourself.
And that was when they bumped into John. Now, he was a nice lad, apart from the fact that he was Royal Irish Constabulary.
Story, John?
Not much. And yourself, Joe? I see you've got a new ride.
I have, yeah. I'm working for the City Council now. Fancy a spin, John?
Not now, Joe. No, I'm on duty.
Maybe later, so.
Maybe. Here, Joe. There's a fierce pile of shite here you forgot to pick up.
I'm not on duty at all yet.
Richard was obsessed with Joe. He followed him everywhere. He wanted to do everything that Joe did. But there was one thing that he would never let him do.
Oh, please, Joe. Let me come. Please. I love the road bowling.
You've never been?
But I've dreamt about it. Please.
Fine.
Are we close?
Spitting distance. How are you, boys? Where's Owen?
Didn't you hear? He's after going to France. He's fighting for England in the war.
He's fighting?
Sure to mind him, Joe. He's after betraying his country. The bastard.
Look at the war we have here.
And then that fool flicks off to fight for the enemy.
But will he come back?
I don't know. Depends on his aim.
And his dodging.
True. And sure, he was never that good around us.
He's a goner.
They had me worried sick. Joe would take his little brother out and they wouldn't come home for all hours. See, that was the time the revolution was beginning. And I knew something big was going to happen. I could just feel it. You missed the rosary.
I know.
Who are you praying for?
The soldiers in France. Will I have to fight, ma'am?
You'll do what you know to be right.
What if I don't know what's right?
You're my son, Joe, and I believe in you. When the time comes to fight, you'll know what to do. But I love you forever, whether you do the right thing or not.
Joe, are you going to fight in the war?
Go to sleep, Richard.
I'd like to fight.
You?
Yeah, I've been practicing too. The next person to cross me is getting a stab in the chest.
Don't talk like that. It's not right. Anyway, you're too short to stab someone in the chest. You'd miss and stab him in the balls. Now go to sleep.
Joe, would it be more painful now to be stabbed in the chest or in the balls?
What do you think?
I think I'm the perfect height to be a soldier.
Joe would bring the cart up to the market gardens and the children would pick fruit and toss it in. Geez, they worked very hard.
Joe, what's happening in Dublin?
Bad people are doing bad things.
Will they come to Cork?
Don't worry, Annie. If they come to Cork, I'll protect you.
And what will we do?
Here, Joe won't do anything. He'll be too busy picking the shit off the street. Although, by then it'll be blood, won't it?
Don't listen to him, Annie. He's been stupid.
Where are the good people?
They're fighting back. Don't worry. I have to go to work. Will you take her home?
Come on, Annie.
Echo, echo, echo.
7 men signed the proclamation to free Ireland. 7 men led thousands more to their painful, unjust deaths. 7 men started a revolution that would spur the Irish on for decades. 5 of them men are dead, and today 2 more are killed.
Echo! All the rebel signatories are now dead!
Dead!
I never went dancing at the crossroads, but Joe would tell me all about it. He said that they danced and sang and told stories and spoke Irish. Asher, 'twas no wonder he loved going there.
How are you, boys? Are you the volunteers?
Depends. Who's asking?
Joseph Murphy. I'd like to join.
Oh, you'd like to join, would you? Did you know we're a secret organisation, Joe Murphy? Did you know what we do to people who blow our cover?
I'm sorry. I didn't know who else to...
I'm only cutting you. Do you like to dance, Joe Murphy?
I like to dance, yeah.
We'll go over there and dance with Governor.
But it wasn't just dancing happened at the crossroads. Oh no. Manny's the plan was made and message passed on. But these meetings were illegal, so they had to hide if any of the Royal Irish Constabulary was on duty.
Good evening, sir.
Hello, officer.
Fine night, isn't it?
I suppose it is.
Shoot that man he spoke to.
Jesus! What did you do that for?
He could have been conspiring with the enemy. We can't take any chances.
The battalion usually trained at a slaughterhouse in Dennehy's Cross. But if they were lucky and it was sunny like today, they drilled at a quarry in Sandy Hill.
Do you think you know what it is to be an Irish volunteer? Do you? It's not the clothes you wear or the gun you hold or the enemy you're fighting. And if any of those things even crossed your mind when I asked that question, then I'll happily watch you walk. No? No one? All of you men who think you know what it is to be a volunteer, raise your rifles. You, what does it mean to be in the Irish Republican Army?
It means loyalty, trust, anger.
Wrong.
Pride.
What was that, Joe Murphy?
You must be proud to be Irish. Proud of Irish ancestry and artwork. You must read Connolly and listen to Pearse. Speak the language and do the dances. It's not enough to fight for the Ireland you want. You have to be ready for it too.
Well said, Joe Murphy. The Irish volunteers will be happy to have you. Now lower the guns, men. March. This is H Company of the 1st Cork Brigade. We have no shining gaiters and no Sam Brown belts to show. We are ready to defend ourselves wherever we may go. We are out for a republic and to hell with the Free State. No surrender is the war cry of the 1st Cork Brigade. Glory, glory to old Ireland.
Glory, glory to our island. Glory, glory to the men who fought and fell. No surrender is the war cry of the 1st Cork Brigade.
There was this fella called MacNeilis, Donegal MacNeilis. He was a part of the Cork Brigade ever since he moved on from Donegal. He was happy enough here until the Royal Irish Constabulary broke into his home and attempted to arrest him.
MacNeilis, you're under arrest.
No, stay away.
You're under arrest.
MacNeilis's mistake was obvious. He shot a head constable. Now that means if the head constable dies, they have reason to kill MacNeilis. And so the lads planned his escape.
How bad is the constable?
He won't last the week.
We need to get him out of there. Florrie, you were there yesterday. What did it look like?
Only 6 people in the waiting room and 2 people to our prisoner. The visiting cell has a double barrier and the warder has keys for everything. His exit, our exit, and the door between us and him.
How long is the visit?
10 minutes only.
Right. We need to tell him that we're coming.
I've got an idea. I'll give him a note.
You will, yeah. They'll be watching you the whole time.
Watch me.
Who are you here to see?
Donegal MacNeilis.
Scanlon boy, it's been ages.
Mac, let me shake your hand, boy. It's been ages since we spoke. Actually, it was a Monday.
What's this?
It was definitely a Monday. I remember because the missus cooks stew. And she only does that on the Monday.
Is that right? How is me?
She's grand, yeah. Had the Monday blues there last week. But you know yourself.
Ah, yeah.
Listen, I better be going now. I'll see you soon, boy.
On a Monday, God help us. I'd like a taste, miss, stew.
I might bring you some on Monday.
Well, did he get the message?
If he didn't, Jesus, he's not worth saving.
And so on Monday, the plan to rescue Donncha McNeilis began. 6 volunteers entered the waiting room. Joe and Martin were first. They visited McNeilis.
Hello, lads.
How are you, McBoy?
Have you brought me stew?
Stew?
Scanlon said he'd bring me stew on Monday.
Is that right? Excuse me, officer. Can you let us out so we can get stew for this man?
Well, it wasn't really that important.
Jump, Mac!
You bastards!
There was a bunch of volunteers outside stopping anyone getting into the prison. Paddy Varian even cut a telephone wire. There was a young fellow outside the prison fixing his bicycle. In his escape, McNeilis hops onto the bicycle and cycles all the way to Macroom. The lads found him that evening against the ditch and took him to a safe place. This was when my heart began to crack. Joe came in one evening and Richard and I were sat at the kitchen table.
What are you wearing?
It's my uniform. I'm joining the Merchant Navy.
You're what?
We set sail in 2 weeks.
Why? Why are you doing this?
Why am I doing this? You're in the IRA and I never asked you that question.
Joe is fighting for his own country.
Fighting is fighting. Does it really matter to the dead man if you're a good guy or a bad guy?
How could you say that?
Ma'am, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to sound like that. I'm sorry.
You didn't answer my question. Why?
They're recruiting. I volunteered.
But why? If you want to fight, I can get you into the battalion here. All you have to do is
I don't want to follow you.
You have to stop him, Joe. We can't let him do this.
I can't do that, man. It's his decision. He's a grown man.
I can't lose my son, Joe. I can't lose him.
You won't, Mammy. He'll be back. I promise.
You can't promise that.
I can pray for it.
My 2 strong sons that I watched go out to break their strength and die. Oh, Lord, have mercy on them. In 1919, the Cork Volunteers were divided into 3 brigades. Tomás McCurtain was head of the 1st Brigade, with his vice-commandant, Sean O'Hagerty, a man in favour of killing individual policemen. Now, McCurtain didn't agree and so demoted O'Hagerty. And a year later, Tomás McCurtain was elected Lord Mayor of Cork.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Cork Volunteer Pipe Band, led by our very own Lord Mayor, Tomás McCurtain.
After his performance, McCurtain visited the Wallace sisters' shop. Now, most people thought this was just a corner shop, when in fact, it was the most effective intelligence office in Cork, and it was ran by Nora and Sheila Wallace.
Well, are you enjoying being the first Lord Mayor of Cork?
As I said on the City Hall, Sheila, no matter what party a man belongs to, he will get every opportunity to put forward any idea he possesses in relation to the welfare of the city. But yes, I'm enjoying it quite a bit.
I heard Max Sweeney nominated you.
Oh, he's a fine man, Terry is. Pity he isn't here tonight.
Oh, August Tomás.
Isha, Nora?
Lá breithe honadit.
Constable Murtagh was walking home from a funeral. His colleagues liked him, which meant the volunteers hated him, and O'Hagerty had a plan for him.
Tomas McCurtain! Come down! Come out, Curtin!
Ah! McCurtain's dead!
What?
He was just here last night.
O'Hagerty killed a constable last night.
Oh, Jesus.
And when the RIC found out, they killed McCurtain in his own home.
What?
Well, how's Eilish? The kids?
How am I supposed to know? I don't know.
Oh, God, and he was just 36 today.
Well, we have to do something.
I say we shoot the bastard.
No!
Yeah!
We're not shooting anyone right now. We're too angry.
I fight better when I'm angry.
But we don't need to fight better. We need to fight smarter.
Well, what's the plan, boy?
We wait.
One June night, a group of volunteers walked through the Cork countryside to the Royal Irish Constabulary Farran Barracks. They lay in the mud, in the dark, still night, waiting for their perfect moment to attack.
Okay, everybody out.
Stop right there. I've got a gun.
John.
Joseph Murphy. What are you?
John. Just let me go.
You're a volunteer.
Just let us go, John.
Shoot him, Joe.
I'm not shooting a good man. Just let us go.
Go then.
It was 2:00 in the morning in my home. The home I decorated myself. The home I raised my children in. The home I hope to grow old in. It was 2:00 in the morning, and we were all asleep.
Come out, Joseph Murphy. We know you're in there. Joseph Murphy!
I'm here. I'm here. Just don't hurt my family.
You're under arrest for possession of a bomb.
Listen, I don't have a bomb.
Don't argue.
Fine. I'll coach you, but please, don't hurt my family.
No!
I beg you.
No, you can't take him. You have no rights. He's done nothing. Take this, Joe.
Ma'am, no. Mary, take her.
No, you can't have him. He's mine and I won't let you. Oh, please. Take me instead. Please.
Get her to be quiet.
Ma'am, please.
My boy was locked up for 24 days when Michael Fitzgerald came in. Joe never told me what happened to them in there, but I heard the stories. He never even got a trial. Fitzgerald had one organised, but none of the bloody jurors showed up and they just threw him into prison. Ah, jeez, the poor lad.
They got Terry last night too. He's been sent to Brixton prison.
Jesus, look at you. They shouldn't be allowed to treat us like this. It's not fair.
When have they ever been fair? We can't do anything here. We have no power.
We can go on hunger strike.
You know how a hunger strike ends, don't you?
Either my wish is coming true, or my death will come early.
And you can manage it.
They decided it then and there. They would go on hunger strike. They would demand to be political prisoners. There was 11 of them in total, well, 12, including McSweeney. My heart goes out to all their mothers.
John Crowley, 27 years old, played football for Limerick.
Peter Crowley, 18 years old, John's little brother.
Joseph Kenny, a carpenter, a husband and a father of 7 children.
Christopher Upton, 27, arrested at a military roundup.
Michael O'Reilly, a good sportsman and a keen Gaelic footballer.
Thomas Massey Donovan, arrested at his parents' farm in Limerick.
John Power, 19 years old, from Tipperary.
Michael Burke, arrested in his own home. He had to be treated for wounds before he was put in Cork jail.
Sean Hennessy, a Gaelgore, taught Irish to young kids. He was arrested during a lesson.
Terence McSweeney, arrested in the Lord Mayor's chamber. When he was asked to hand over his possessions, he refused to give away his chain of office.
Michael Fitzgerald, a mill worker from Fermoy. His mother was already dead when he started the strike.
Sometimes I envy her. And Joseph Murphy, my boy.
Okay, Joe Murphy, are you ready to risk your life for Ireland?
I've been doing that for years, Michael.
Eat up!
We are refusing food because we demand political status and fair trials.
Lloyd George's hired gunmen came and shot McCurtain down. They thought the IRA was dead in Cork's own rebel town. But they got a rude awakening when the debt was partly paid. In Lisburn and the lower part of the 1st Cork Brigade. Glory, glory to all Ireland. Glory, glory to us Ireland. Glory, glory to the men who fought and fell. No surrender is the war cry of the 1st Cork Brigade. Glory, glory to all Ireland. Glory, glory to us Ireland. Glory, glory to the men who fought and fell. No surrender is the war cry of the 1st Cork Brigade.
Good afternoon, men.
How are you, Father?
I'm not too bad, Michael. In all of you men.
Would you mind praying with me, Father?
Not at all, Joe. How have you been coping?
I'm doing well. Having the lads is helpful. And of course my prayers.
What's that you have in your hand?
My miraculous medal. My mother gave it to me just before they took me away.
Has your mother been in to see you, Joe?
I was forever writing letters to him. Even when I'd nothing to say, I'd just write and write and write and write. Sure, God knows if they ever reached him.
She says Richard is coming home.
That's nice. And you'll get to see him.
Will I?
Oh, Richard was finally back on Irish soil. We had been writing to him for weeks and weeks and weeks, and eventually he sailed across Europe to see Joe for what would be the last time.
Passport. Richard Murphy's your name?
It is.
Are you the brother of Joseph Murphy?
Yes.
Take him away.
What? I'm not a volunteer.
Where did you expect to be travelling to today?
Actually, boy, I was going to stay the night in Belfast. Heard you had some grape rattles. Jesus!
Where are you travelling to?
Cork City. I'm visiting my family, my dying brother.
What's that they call Cork City? Oh, aye, the rebel city.
I'm not a volunteer. I was in the Merchant Navy. Joe was the volunteer, not me. The man is dying.
Take him to Crumlin Road Prison.
No, you can't take me to prison. I'm not the IRA. I swear on my mother's life I'm not. Please.
We waited and waited, but Richard never came home. He said he was coming back weeks ago.
My darling, these aren't men we're dealing with. They're monsters. Joe knew what he was dealing with the minute he took his last bite.
We can't manage without Joe. I can't do it.
Darling, you can't say that. You're brave son is giving up his life so that we can be free.
I'd rather be trapped forever than lose my Joe.
I know, darling, I know.
Are you going to the mass?
What mass?
The one for the hunger strikers. Look!
At the request of Irish volunteers, all premises are asked to close as to allow employees to attend services.
Day 67. I don't count the days myself, but every person that walks into our ward mentions it. Michael is blind. Kenny has no voice. And Massey has collapsed. Watching these brave men suffer and knowing that our enemies aren't even listening is worse than hunger itself. And if they're not listening now, will they listen when we're dead? Mammy will hunt them down if they don't. She's in here every day, watching me fade. I try telling her to stop coming, but I'm selfish. I want her to stay. I'm not hungry anymore, just empty. But when I see her bright, round face, that's when I consider eating. Is it worth saving my country, only to break my mother?
Do we tell him Max Sweeney is dead?
No. We didn't tell him about Fitzgerald. We can't tell him about McSweeney.
Doesn't he have a right to know?
We can't. It'll break his heart. I can't do it to him.
This might be the only chance.
No! We're not telling him.
Is that you, ma'am?
Oh, yeah, it's all of us, Joe.
Richard? Are you there, boy?
No, he's not, Joe, no.
I can't see anything, ma'am.
Oh, that's okay, Joe. Look, we're here.
Joe.
Yes, Annie.
What will we do if the bad boys come to Cork now?
You'll do what's right. And just because I can't see doesn't mean you're allowed to cry. I love you.
I love you forever.
Shall we begin? In Anna Manahar, agus an Sfecht, agus an Spread Neve. Lord, have mercy on us.
Lord, have mercy on us. My boy, Joe. 6 feet deep in Irish soil. On this day, the 25th of October, 1920, Ireland gained a hero, and I lost a son. House will be quiet now. No Joe. No Richard. In January, they'll send Richard to America to start a new life. We'll never see or hear from him again, never. And 100 years from now, no one will remember Joe's story. Because Terence McSweeney died 3 hours before him, the same way, for the same cause. Oh, Joe was my hero. Yeah, long before he striked, long before he fought, long before we came back to Ireland. Back when we were poor, hungry, he gave me a reason to live. He saved my life twice now. And he wouldn't even let me save his own. I'll miss my Joe. My unsung hero.